I passed the first test. I got the mic off of the stand. That's good. So I'm just going to jump right in. A couple of years ago, I started to take some vocal lessons. And so in my mid-40s, it was just something that I wanted to develop. I had been in a lot of bands before, and I thought, this is the one area where I really need the most growth. So, so interestingly, it didn't take me very long to realize that some of the things that I was learning to be a better singer was actually helping me to be a better person in general. And so what I want to do is I just want to take a few minutes today and share with you some of the concepts that I found to be very helpful, not only as a singer, but things that I've been able to apply to life in general. And so there are three concepts that I wanted to talk about with you today. The first one is vulnerability. The second one is resonance. And the third one is faith. So I'm going to jump in with vulnerability, this first piece, because with each of these concepts, I'm going to talk with you a little bit from the perspective of a vocalist and from a vocal training, but then how I applied it to my life in general. So with vulnerability, from a singer's perspective, vulnerability really means giving myself permission to look bad. I mean, basically, that's what it comes down to. Giving myself permission to sound bad or to look bad. And so that was kind of eye-opening for me to begin to let go of some of the fear that I had to control things when I got up on stage. And so that was kind of one of the main things that I started to learn about vulnerability, was this idea that I needed to let go of things. And so I didn't take too long to figure out with my vocal exercises that I had to let go of some self-consciousness, because some of the vocal exercises that we had to do, frankly, were kind of ridiculous. Do you want to see some of the vocal exercises? Okay. So how about this one? We had to do that, right? We had to learn to let go of the tongue tension. We had to do ones like, to let go of certain kinds of things with coming back down into your register, to learn how to let go of things. And really to not worry about sounding good or bad, but just experiencing it. What does it feel like, right? So one of the things as I was applying it to life that I started to learn about vulnerability is it's about being in the moment, right? It's really about like not thinking about or judging the last note that I sang, or about thinking about that next high note that I want to hit, right? It's about being in the moment, being with people so that you can connect. And for me, that was really critical as well, is like not worrying about what happened or what's going to happen, but just be in the moment with people. And that really has helped me with my relationships across the board, right? To understand, to be in the moment with people. And to not, to try to put some of the fear aside that was associated at. And that was the other thing that I really learned from this vulnerability piece, is that I learned that the need to control is really the fear of being out of control. Let me say that again. The need to control is actually a fear of being out of control. And so, in my opinion, fear is vulnerability's worst enemy, right? Because when we're fearing, it's about something that may or may not happen in the future. And so, if it's future-based, we are out of the moment. And we're not connecting with people the way that we could be if we were just letting it fly, right? So I would encourage all of you to be more vulnerable. Put yourself out there. Let it fly a little bit. And I think you'll be surprised at what God can do with that as you step out in faith on that. So the second piece that I wanted to talk about is resonance. That's very big for vocalists. And it really comes down to releasing compensatory muscles, releasing the tension that surround the vocal cords. Because what happens is that because you fear something, you constrict, and your vocal cords don't vibrate the way they should. They don't vibrate naturally. But when you let go of those compensatory muscles, your vocal cords can vibrate more naturally, you have better resonance, and you connect with people. It becomes more pleasing to the ear, right? So if you're more pleasing to the ear, resonance means you can connect with them better. And in life, I had to realize that I was manipulating things in my life, relationships, that was affecting my ability to connect with people. So I had to learn to let go of some of those things. And for me, one of those things was to, when I was feeling more vulnerable, would be to pull back emotionally from that individual if I was feeling too vulnerable. And so that would just kind of end the whole opportunity for me to connect with them at that level. Another thing that affected me in terms of resonance or connecting with people was the fact that I would let other people's attitude, negative attitudes, affect my attitude. And I had to realize that I can't control how somebody else is going to react to something. I can only put that out there and look for God's will for my life and how he wants me and to develop me and my life and my living. So for me, that was also very big, to be able to connect with people with resonance. Which leads me to the final piece, which is faith. And in singing, faith comes into play when I get up on stage and I'm getting ready to perform. Because I have to have faith that how I trained, what I put into it, is going to just be there when I get up there. And my vocal coach has told me a lot of things that have been very helpful for that, for that performance, to let go of things. And he says, yeah, memorization, that's important. Knowing the notes, hitting the notes, the notes. You've hit them, right? Just get up there and let it fly. And you'll probably surprise yourself, and you may even surprise the audience, right? And audiences love surprises. And he also said, one of the other things that as vocalists we fear probably most is the break in the voice. Is the voice going to crack, right? So what we do is we try to say, well, it might crack, so I'm going to compensate for that. But that's the worst thing we can do. And he says that, a crack in the voice during a performance can be more powerful, can be more effective, can be more charming than the fear or restriction of it, to try to make sure that you hit that note. Just put it out there, let it fly, and see what happens. And so that was very freeing for me as well. And honestly, when we think about it from a Christian perspective, faith is really understanding that things are going to turn out right in the end, right? And as Christians, we know, for those who believe in him, things are going to turn out okay, right? So those are the three things that I hope that you'll pull away from today. The whole vulnerability, resonance, faith, and I'm reminded that of Paul's words as well in Philippians, when he talks about being content, learning to be content in all situations, because I've learned that those three things do stem out of a sense of being content. And the other thing that I've learned through this whole thing is to come back to being in the moment, to understand that this is the day that the Lord has given us, right? Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So may we all allow ourselves to be more vulnerable so that we can resonate and connect with other people and have faith that everything is going to turn out all right. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your conference.